Hello and welcome back to Autism at Home. What a year 2020 has been. COVID-19 has taken the world by shock, and there has been so much uncertainty, so much change, and everyone globally is affected in one way or another. This year was brought to you not just by the words COVID-19, social distancing, hand sanitizer, and face shields, but also by the key word flexibility. When we reflect on the drastic global changes due to this virus, from lockdowns to quarantines to all the precautionary measures we have had to take, we realize how much we, as the human race, need to be able to tolerate changes in order to cope with life. Which brings us to why flexibility is such an important skill to develop. The ability to adapt, the ability to accept changes, and pivot, especially in moments of unmet expectations. What more for children on the autism spectrum? Based on the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, i.e. the DSM-5's criteria for autism, under category B, symptom number 2 is, and I quote, insistence on sameness, inflexible adherence to routines or ritualized patterns or verbal or non-verbal behavior. For example, extreme distress at small changes, difficulties with transitions, rigid thinking patterns, greeting rituals, needing to take the same route or eat the same food every day. Therefore, it is very common for individuals on the autism spectrum to struggle more than the rest of society with inflexibility. Some examples include wanting to eat the same food every day or refusing to use a different water or milk bottle, having to park on a certain floor, or insisting on pressing every lift button on the lift. These inflexibilities can be extremely stressful and impact the quality of life for a family very significantly. A few years ago, we had a child in our EAP scholarship program, and when we first met his mother, she told us one example which I will share with you today. She mentioned that one day they took the train, and there was a little shop at one of the train stations, and he insisted on having a lollipop, which was not allowed. And he had a meltdown that included screaming, throwing himself on the floor, and even rolling on the floor. This was such a challenging and almost dangerous situation for both him and his mother, trying to manage him at a public train station. Now, many watching this video may be familiar with this type of scenario, and some of you may even be thinking, oh, that's nothing. Wait till you hear what my kiddo did. I can only imagine. We have a ton of other examples, some far more challenging as well. As parents and family members, you may be trying your very best to prevent these type of meltdowns, over-communicating, using visuals, schedules, avoiding certain situations and places, but ultimately those are all just preventative strategies, and sometimes things just can be out of your control. Ultimately, every child on the spectrum still needs to be able to develop a certain degree of flexibility. And so, how do we actually teach flexibility? We intentionally chose the title Building Flexibility for this series because we will essentially be doing that. Building flexibility one step at a time. Basically, breaking the skill down to the most basic step your child is able to tolerate, and then to gradually increase the difficulty level step by step. This is essentially building the ability to tolerate a situation that requires flexibility, or sometimes known as desensitization. At first, your child may feel anxiety or uncertainty to the unexpected situation, but builds a greater tolerance to it. We therefore want to set our child up to be successful, and to start where he or she is most likely able to tolerate successfully, and to pair that with reinforcement so that there is a strong positive association with the concept of flexibility. And so in this series, we will be covering some foundational concepts under the umbrella of flexibility, such as transitions, waiting, taking turns and sharing, tolerating changes, and accepting no. By no means are these 5 areas sufficient to cover all the flexibility areas, as there are too many to list down. However, we hope that these basic concepts will be able to help your child have some basic practical flexibility skills that will hopefully improve their overall functioning. Now let's do a bit of back to basics from some of the previous lessons to refresh your memory.
The concept of building flexibility. Would this be a more proactive strategy or reactive strategy when it comes to managing a challenging behavior? You're right, it's a proactive strategy. Now, under proactive strategies, would building flexibility be more of a preventative strategy or teaching strategy? It is a teaching strategy, as it teaches the child a skill to cope with a change so that the behavior wouldn't have to even be prevented in the first place. How much of your energy should be invested into building flexibility proactively? The rule is 90% of your energy and time. While it seems like more effort, it is in fact more exhausting to react to a behavior every time it happens.
Now it's your turn. As we start this series, how about you and your spouse brainstorm a list of areas that may be challenging for your child on the spectrum to be flexible with. Next, see if you are able to categorize this list into these 5 areas we will be covering in this series. Well, there you have it, the introduction to this series, and I look forward to seeing you in the first lesson on flexibility, which is to teach a child how to transition from one location or activity to another. If you haven't already, do check out our free online resource platform, Autism at Home, which has all the corresponding articles and necessary downloadables for you. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram and Facebook to stay updated. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.